So now we need the actual code to work with. So if we go back to our resource pack directory, what we'll do is copy this 8th step, which is called Site Adding Pages Crud, which is in the 5th folder called Building a CMS. And this includes the addition of the Crud script for our pages, as well as some additional changes that we'll go over. So let's copy this. I'm going to right click and copy. And then over in our site folder, let's rename site to 07.site, and we'll just keep it around. And we'll paste in our new folder. And just like we have before, we'll rename this site. Now, if we expand this folder and we take a look at our pages structure and we look under admin, we see that there's now a pages page here. Now let's give this a quick demo by creating a page. I'll go back to the browser and we'll go back to our site and click the My Account link at the top. And we see now we have a new link called Administer Pages. If we click this, we can now click Add Page. And now we have a title, path, content, and a link that says Add Item. So let's just add a test page. We'll type in test. We'll have the path be test as well. And the content will say, hello world. And let's add the item. Okay, so now we see our page listed here. Now if we actually wanted to go to this page, we could simply type test as the path after the site folder here. And sure enough, we see our hello world here. So we've just created our first page completely dynamically without having to touch files or the database directly. Let's do one more test by converting one of our existing pages over to a database-based page. Now, we've added some code in our index.php file that will allow us to pull from a file or to pull from the database to load the content for a page. And the way it does this is it checks to see if a file already exists in the pages folder. So in order to replace one of our pages, and we're going to replace the about page, we need to rename that to something other than about.php. And then when we create our new page in the database, we want to make sure that the path there is identical so that it reads about.php, even though we don't need that PHP extension now. Let's go back to our page adding dialog. I'm going to click My Account and then Administer Pages and then Add Page again. Now let's open up our About page in our Pages folder. So I'm going back to our site directory and I'm going to open up the about.php file here. Now the title is About Us, so we'll go ahead and copy that, and over in the browser we'll paste it in as the title. The path is going to be about.php, I'll just type that in, and the content is going to be everything right here between this EOD and this ending EOD. Now the one difference when we copy this over is that when we reference variables in the content here, we were able to use it directly because by using the here.doc syntax, which were these 3 left arrows and then a signifier here and the ending signifier here, it simulated the wrapping of double quotes, which allows us, when we use double quotes, to use variables directly in the content. Because now we're not going to be using that syntax anymore, we need to wrap this title in a traditional PHP print statement. So let's first copy this over, and then I'll paste it in the content. I'm going to expand this block here, and then for this title, we're going to replace it with an opening PHP tag, print, the title. We'll add a semicolon to finish the statement, and a closing PHP tag. Okay, that should be good. Let's go ahead and add this. Now, in order to complete this process, we need to rename our existing about.php file. We can delete it too, but we'll just rename it so we can keep it around. So we'll rename about.php about-old.php. And now let's go back to the browser and go to About. So it looks like our About page loaded up just fine. If you wanted to verify for sure that we're actually pulling in from the database instead of the page, we can edit the About page to include some additional content that doesn't exist on the page. So I'm going to click Edit next to About Us. Now occasionally I end up doing this in order to trace back where the source of content is coming from. And even though we could do something like a big TEST here at the beginning of the content, what happens if we accidentally forget to take it out again? Then our end user will end up seeing that. So I usually like to add something a little more subtle, something that would be okay if I accidentally left it in later. So for example, I could change this I'm to I am the founder. So it's still right, but it's different than what's in our files. So I'm going to click Save Changes, and then I'm going to click About. And now when we look at this first line here, it says, and I am the founder of Amazing. So it looks like we're pulling from the database.